Welcome to the 2023 Tech Live presentation of what's new and what's coming in ProLinkHFA. In this presentation, the product team will demonstrate a few of the many updates and enhancements delivered in 2023, as well as preview some of the changes you can expect in 2024. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. The changes that we'll review span all 4 quarters. The changes made through Q3 are live and available in your production environments now. The Q4 changes will be released to your UAT environments about a week after Tech Live. We'll break down the updates into 3 categories: user group, regulatory, and change requests and other features. As you are likely aware, the ProLink user group is an excellent way to make your voice heard and initiate the changes you wish to see in ProLinkHFA. This year, the user group changes that were developed include the ability to digest workflow emails, enhanced Smart Docs messaging, custom data views, and more. The first user group change we'll look at is combining workflow emails that are triggered from multiple events. We're going to show how to build a workflow and digest the events. Begin by creating a new workflow. In this example, we're using a simple setup for demonstration purposes. This workflow uses the portfolio property object and is event-triggered. For the criteria, we are looking for property names that start with AB. Anytime there's an update or create done on a property that starts with AB, the workflow triggers an email. With digesting, the system sends one email for all triggered events. Next, set up the email. Here we are sending the email to a specific user. Select the Send Digest checkbox to group the create and update events into one email. Indicate the time, in military time, for the email to be sent. We'll also use some dynamic fields so we can see identifying information about the properties. Let's go into some properties that start with AB and save some changes to trigger the workflow. The system sends a single email that groups together the changes made for all 3 properties. Let's look back at the workflow and the Digest Documents checkbox. If the checkbox is cleared and there is a workflow attachment, then the Digest email includes the attachment multiple times. In our example, it would include the attachment 3 times for the 3 events. If the checkbox is selected, the email includes the attachment only 1 time, regardless of the number of digested events. When you work with activity-specific entity screens, you might need to reach out to an entity from time to time. Now you can easily email an entity directly from ProLinkHFA. In the entity screens for Portfolio Property, Dev Deal, TC Deal, Single Family Dev Deal, Supportive Services, REO, and Grants, you can click the hyperlink of the email address to open an email in your default mail program. Alternatively, click the button next to the email address to copy the address. And paste from your clipboard into the email message recipient line. One significant enhancement brought about by User Group is the ability for system administrators to write custom SQL queries based on the ProLinkHFA database. As a result, agencies can create custom data views that combine multiple data tables. Using standard SQL statements, admins can create a custom view and make it available to agency users through the Custom Data Views option. While we don't have time to demonstrate the full functionality in this session, we invite you to check out the product training video located in the ProLinkHFA Help Center. Also refer to this year's TechLive Custom Data Views Masterclass. Other user group changes included TCA current stage basis boost enhancements, changes to the population served pick list, enhanced Smart Docs messaging, and changes to the security type pick list for the credit enhancements line of credit rule. Affordable housing regulations are ever-changing. Next, we'll look at some of the changes ProLink made to the system so that you can help ensure your portfolio's properties remain compliant. In June 2023, the IRS published a new version of Tax Form 8823. Newly created forms in ProLinkHFA will use the new version, which includes fields for the signature of authorizing official, print name and title, and date. Page 2 of the generated PDF includes QR codes, which contain data from the form. The IRS will scan these codes to populate its system with the data. This online QR code reader lets you see the XML encoded data. HOTMA, or the Housing Opportunities Through Modernization Act, requires revision of HUD regulations related to home and LIHTC programs. Let's look at the changes ProLink made as a result of the final rule. In all cases, these changes start on January 1st, 2024. In ProLinkHFA, the total eligible household members field on the Tenant Event main tab will not include foster children. The compliance engine uses this field to determine the number of people for the max income. In addition, foster children's income and assets will be excluded from the total eligible household income field. This value is used to test income limits. Let's look at an event before 2024 and then an event after 2024 where the foster child is excluded from the total eligible household income and the total eligible household members. The Edit Household Income from Assets screen includes a new field called Imputed Annual Income. If the total cash value of all assets for eligible members is greater than $50,000, if the cash value is populated, and if the asset status equals imputed, then the system calculates the imputed annual income field as follows. The cash value amount multiplied by the ownership percentage multiplied by the current imputed income rate, which is located in a new utility that we'll look at in a moment. In the grid on the Household Income from Assets screen, we added a new column called Imputed Annual Income. If the assets do not total $50,000, then the field displays NA asset limit not met. Otherwise, the field displays the value on the asset record. The total section below the grid includes the following new calculations: total cash value of all assets for eligible members, total imputed annual income from assets for eligible members, and total annual income from assets for eligible members. The Utilities panel includes a new utility called Imputed Asset Limit, which is similar to the Imputed Income Rates utility. The system will use the Imputed Asset Limit utility to determine if family assets have exceeded the inflation-adjusted limits provided annually by HUD. Click New to enter a limit and its effective date. We don't have time to demo in this session, but please note there are corresponding changes in the Procorem Tenant portal. ProLink updated the compliance engine to accommodate home student rules. The home student fields are accessible on the household member record when home is selected on the unit. The fields are also available in the NAMA XML version 7 file. Because different agencies may have different needs, we've added a configuration setting called Home Student Rule Compliance Switch Start Date. If the setting is blank, the system will continue to test student rules in the current way. When you populate the setting with a date, the system tests student rules using the new method for all compliance reviews that start on or after the config setting date. Contact ProLink to set up this configuration if you are interested in using the new testing rules. The compliance engine tests the home student rule for move-in, recertification, and student update events. During a compliance review, the system presents a missing requirement for home units when the Home Attending Institute of Higher Learning field is not selected. In our example, one of the household member records does not have a value for the field selected. Let's resolve the missing requirement and look at the compliance evaluation. The other household member record is 19 at certification and attending an Institute of Higher Learning, but no value is selected for the home student exception field, so the compliance error is triggered. A compliance violation occurs for home units when a household member is 18 to 23 years old and the Home Attending Institute of Higher Learning field equals yes, and the home student exception is not selected. To support agencies' needs more fully, ProLink introduces updates related to initial certification events. In ProLinkHFA, the event type list on the Edit Tenant Event screen includes a new value called Initial Certification. Also notice the Initial Move-In Date field is relabeled to Initial Move-In Date/Initial Certification. The Edit Building screen includes a new field called Resyndication Placed in Service Date. In the Procorem Tenant portal, owner agents can select initial certification in the event type list for units, excluding market and employee units. And when owner agents import initial certification events through XML, the system imports them as initial certification. These events were previously imported as recertification. The compliance engine rules for testing initial certification are the same as the recertification event type. The system will check initial certification events to determine if the property is subject to the available unit rule, rent limits, and student rules. Note the new fields, resyndication and resyndication start date, on the main tab of the LIHTC Compliance Program screen. If the checkbox is selected, then the compliance engine will use the resyndication placed in service date on the building as the new placed in service date to determine how income and rent limits will be tested. An initial certification event cannot follow a move-out or transfer-out event. And initial certification cannot be the first event on a new unit. Initial certification must follow a move-in, transfer-in, or recertification event. Otherwise, the system presents a missing requirement. ProLink recommends that when a resyndication occurs, the agency create 2 compliance review periods for the year where the resyndication occurs. We made changes to ProLinkHFA and the Procorem Tenant Portal app to track average income properties. In this session, we'll look at the Tenant Portal and some of the Compliance Engine updates. For full details, see the Q3 and Q4 release notes and demos. You can also refer to this year's Tech Live AIT special session. Owner agents will see a new section for average income test designations. The section is visible only for properties that have a bin or multi-building project, where the federal minimum set-aside is average income. Here is an example of a single building property with an average income bin. And here is an example of a multi-building project. In most cases, all bins will be set to the same federal minimum set-aside. This example shows 1 bin with a 40/60 set-aside and 2 bins with average income. As multi-building projects are onboarding to average income, you might see this situation if all buildings have not been updated correctly. In the Tenant Portal, click Change AIT Unit Designations to navigate to the AIT Project Designations screen, where you can see all the current AIT designations for the property's average income buildings. The grid also shows the expected applicable fraction for the bins, as well as expected average of unit designations and average of qualified group of units designations for the project. Here's a single building project. Notice one of the units is missing designations. And here's a multi-building project. In this example, notice the values are shown in red font when greater than 60. Click a row to open the details for a unit. Here you can view, add, and edit the AIT unit designation, AIT qualified group of units, and AIT applicable fraction group for the unit. The AIT unit designation screen houses the AIT designation for the unit. Select from valid NAMA unit designations, 20 through 80, market, or excluded. Specify the effective date and select the reason for the designation change. The AIT Qualified Group of Units screen houses the AIT Qualified Group of Units for the unit, or the group of units whose average income is 60% of AMI or less. Indicate whether the unit is part of an AIT Qualified Group of Units and the effective date of the group. The AIT Applicable Fraction Group screen houses the AIT Applicable Fraction Group for the unit, or the group used when calculating applicable fraction. this group must include the qualified group of units selected for the minimum set-aside, but can include additional units. Indicate whether the unit is part of an AIT applicable fraction group and the effective date of the group. System validations include requiring the effective date for each record type to be unique, warning or error if the unit type does not match the AIT designation, and preventing changes to AIT records for years with a finalized compliance review. In data views, we added a new AIT unit designations data view, which allows you to view and report on AIT unit designations across properties. You can also view common property and building fields, as well as select fields from the unit. You'll also find data views for the AIT qualified group of units and AIT applicable fraction group across the portfolio. ProLink updated the XML importer to accept NAMA XML version 7. The primary changes are new nodes and attributes for average income properties. Note that version 7 imported records will include both tenant event records and the records for AIT unit designation, qualified group of units, and applicable fraction group. In the back office, when you are ready for a compliance evaluation, you'll notice a new LIHTC AIT tab on the Edit Compliance Review screen, which shows information on current designations. Missing requirements will be noted if AIT projects do not have at least one unit designation with a date equal to or before the current compliance period, or AIT projects do not have at least one AIT qualified group of units and one applicable fraction group with a date within the compliance period. Compliance testing for AIT projects includes income testing. If tenant income exceeds the current unit designation, then an exception is displayed. Rent testing. If rent limit exceeds 30% of the current unit designation, then an exception is displayed. And available unit rule testing. If a project or bin is average income and a low income unit is over income and a market move-in occurs, then an exception message is displayed. One other regulatory change of note is support for 6-bedroom units. Please check out the Q1 release notes and demo for full details. In addition to user group and regulatory changes, ProLink has made many other changes over the year. Some of these were requested by specific agencies, and some are company initiatives that we at ProLink think will enhance the product and your user experience. We'll first look at the calculated max income and rent limit information added to the user interface and the report. Navigate to a unit and then to a tenant event. On the main tab, there is a new section called Income and Rent Evaluation Details, which includes read-only fields. After the review period is evaluated, these fields will display values to help you understand how the tenant event was tested. Some events, such as Household Update, are not tested for income or rent, in which case the fields will remain blank. We'll run the evaluation to test income and rent. Then we can return to the tenant event and see the evaluation details that have been populated. The fields are also available in the Procorem tenant portal. We added some of these fields to the portfolio status report. You can see the max income limit source file, income limit AMI, gross rent, tenant paid rent, max rent limit, max rent limit source, max rent limit AMI, and gross floor amount. Under ProLink Data Views, you'll find the ProLinkHFA Data Dictionary. The Data Dictionary lists the ProLinkHFA database tables and their columns, which represent field-level data elements. The description provides the location of the field, whether it is a required field, a high-level description of the field, and, if applicable, the pick list name. Please note that ProLink has initially populated information for a subset of data elements and plans to continue to update records over time. The data dictionary is shared across all agencies. As such, only ProLink will be able to update the data dictionary records. If your agency relies on single sign-on, or SSO, for ProLinkHFA access, you can now configure the system so that users cannot use the logon.aspx page to bypass SSO. When the is SSO enabled and force SSO for non-ProLink domain users configuration settings are true, then the users will be forced to use SSO. ProLink introduces a new Forcast reporting type for standardized financials, which allows you to send forecast financial data for a property associated with a dev or tax credit deal as the primary property. Note that if you use blended deals, the system creates the property for you. First, I'll add a new reporting year for the property, specifically for a forecast record. In the SmartDocs template, I'll perform a get to associate the template with the deal and its primary property. We recommend mapping forecast values as send only. The system deletes the existing forecast record and replaces it with the new record and template values. In the back office, you can see the forecast record on the Financials status tracking screen. Click into the record to see the details on the Edit Financial screen. Forecast data is available in the Financials data views. The Utilities menu includes a new option called Loan Balance Import Utility, which allows you to import loan balances into ProLinkHFA in bulk. The loan must exist in ProLinkHFA prior to the import. The file type must be a CSV file, and you must match the headers exactly. Navigate to the file to import and then click Import in the top toolbar. If the system cannot process a value for the record, the system skips the record and logs an error. When the process is complete, the system sends an email notification. The functionality is controlled by a new security privilege. Users with the administrative modify or the new Utilities Loan Balance History Import privilege can import files. ProLink made changes to make the Diversity Compliance module more compatible across the ProLink customer base. State-specific verbiage has been removed from pick lists and screens. In addition, we added a new section called Demographics to the Utilization Plan Subcontractor screen and the Cumulative Payment screen. ProLink made changes so that checklist and checklist item associated object types support attaching a SmartDocs template to the workflow based on the allowable parent of the checklist, such as dev deal or tax credit deal. In this example, the workflow will trigger an email when a checklist on a property is completed. The email will include a SmartDocs file attachment populated with details from the property. You will need to ensure the template you attach can be associated with the parent of the checklist or checklist item. Failure to match the object's parent with the SmartDocs schema parent could have unexpected results, or the template might not be populated. I'll complete the checklist items for the asset management checklist. Then you can see the task is automatically populated in the attached SmartDocs template for the Grape Towers property. Procorem Tenant Portal users can now print a simple Tenant Income Certification, or TIC Form, from the Tenant event screen. This is helpful for properties without large management systems, who need a way to produce a TIC form for renters to sign. Because the form might not work for all agencies, the functionality can be configured in the Tenant Portal app settings. When the checkbox is selected, the functionality is enabled. In the Tenant Portal, when the functionality is enabled, the Download TIC button will be visible for all event types except Move Out and Transfer Out. The form is specific to the LIHTC program and tenant events on or after January 1st, 2024. Click the button to download the TIC form as a PDF. The form in the Tenant Portal is modeled after the NCSHA sample. Although we do not have time to demo the changes in this session, ProLink also introduced new supportive services rental assistance functionality throughout the year. Changes include new activity reporting, integration with the Budget Pro app, and a new Procorem rent roll app. Please reach out to ProLink Professional Services to learn more about leveraging this functionality for your state rental assistance programs. Now let's talk about what ProLink is planning for 2024 and beyond. We hope you'll find these enhancements as exciting as we do. Recently, HUD introduced a new physical inspection model called NSPIRE to replace previous models like UPCS and HQS. The new inspection model simplifies the inspectable areas from 5 to 3, as well as clearly defines each potential deficiency. ProLink will be implementing changes to support NSPIRE inspections for ProLinkHFA portfolio properties. As demonstrated earlier, ProLink recently added a new forecast reporting type to the standardized financials functionality. Next, we plan to integrate the forecast data with the robust financial analytics tool. This will allow you to compare the forecast to budget and annual data. In Procorem, we plan to make changes so that administrators will be able to archive multiple work centers that exist in the same category. Bulk archival will be available from the Account Work Centers level, as well as from the Account Admin Work Centers screen. You'll also be able to sort Work Center categories when viewing Account Work Centers. An enhancement to the Procorem Tenant Portal will allow administrators to create and assign custom roles for Tenant Portal users. As a result, you will be able to differentiate different user roles and functionality even more. For example, you might have users who can edit, add, and validate tenant information, while other users can only view events. In addition, we'll continue to implement other miscellaneous usability and smaller feature enhancements. That covers our year in review. as well as our near-term plans. We hope you'll stay connected with us through our provided channels, including monthly business review meetings, customer support and professional services, help centers for each product, ProLinkHFA, Tenant Portal, Budget Pro, and Supportive Services Rent Roll, and our quarterly product newsletter. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you everyone for joining this session. I hope you found great value in this session. As a reminder, a copy of the PowerPoint is available here on the side of the screen. You can also come back and watch the recording of the session anytime. Even after the conference is over, you're able to log back onto the platform for the next 90 days to watch any of the session recordings. The survey is available on the right side of your screen. Please provide any feedback you might have on the session. In it, you can enter any outstanding questions that were not answered during the session as well. Now for the next 15 minutes until about 12 p.m. Eastern, as you take a break, you can join Coffee and Bagel. Please do so. This is a feature we're highlighting this year to encourage interaction amongst attendees. When you click on the discussions item under the community menu item, you'll find rooms set up where you can join. Each room can accommodate up to 6 people. You're able to create your own room and wait for others to join as well. This is an opportunity to network with your fellow users or counterparts at other agencies. Outside of what's coming with our product team, we have some opportunities with our user group on enhancements. I'll be joining one of the Coffee and Bagel rooms if you'd like to hear what we're doing with our hardest hit fund focus group. Look for me in one of the rooms if you'd like to discuss this session. Please meet and greet each other while taking a break until the next session. A discussion of Budget Pro, featuring Tom Royal, the product manager for ProLink, and Sergio Gambale, the manager of design and construction at Virginia Housing. This session will begin at 12 p.m. Eastern. Coffee and Bagel takes place every break throughout the conference. During each break, we'll pick one winner and provide a $50 gift card. So enjoy the break, and we'll see you all at the next session.